Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
here.
Okay. So let me talk briefly about the proficiency test in Indonesia. I think Bapak Ibu, you have already heard of this test. The first one is TOEFL. TOEFL actually now has two kinds of tests: TOEFL paper-based and TOEFL IPT, or the internet-based. And then we also have IELTS. And most of you are more familiar with IELTS academic, not for general training. So IELTS academic is the task that you take if you want to continue your studies, while for general training if you want to work. So this is more of a language testing to see how much you can socialize, how much you can communicate at a workplace. And the last one is TOEIC. Again, this is similar to IELTS general training. There are two kinds of TOEIC tests: listening and reading, and speaking and writing. Normally in Indonesia, our SM Pass students take the TOEIC test for listening and reading only. Okay, I'm going to focus on two tasks, and these two types of tests are paper-based tests: the TOEFL PPT and also IELTS academic. So TOEFL paper-based test in the listening section, it has three parts. And the listening section test usually takes about 30 to 40 minutes. So the first part, or part A, short conversation, consists of 30 questions. Part B, longer conversation, consists of 8 questions. And part C, short form, consists of 12 questions. Well, in the IELTS academic, there are 4 sections in the listening module. Sections 1 and 2 test the listening skills needed for the survival in English country. So for shopping, socializing, doing free time activities, something like that. And for section 3 and 4 test the listening skills needed to understand academic content, such as lectures. The difference between IELTS and TOEFL paper test is that IELTS have more varied tasks. So the task may be included, as you can see here: multiple choice, matching, classification, short answer questions and lists, note table, flow chart completion, sentence completion, summary completion, labeling a diagram or a plan. Now we're going to give the task, the two kinds of tasks, PBT, TOEFL PBT, and IELTS academic. If you, Pak Edwin, you don't, I think I don't need to be a co-host. It's okay. I can still share screen even though I'm not a co-host. Thank you. So I'm going to show you some problems in the TOEFL PBT and also IELTS academic test. If you have already joined terdekat, then we're going to start here. You can play using the terdekat, the questions, the problems. If You haven't? Then I'm going to play the recording for you. So if you join the Pear Deck, just go ahead, click the audio recording, and also you can see the problems here on your screen, and then choose the right answer. It's a multiple choice question problem, so just choose the right one, A, B, C, or D. For those who haven't joined Pear Deck, I'm going to play the recording for you. So the following questions is in part A of the listening comprehension test. Listen and choose the answer. So I'm going to play the recording. I can see that some of you have already answered through Pear Deck. Please be patient, Bapak Ibu. Pak Edwin, could you please share the link to Pear Deck and also task code so everybody can...
Unit 2, Short Conversations, Drawing Conclusions, Who, What, and Where. Strategy 1, Sample Problem.
What did I miss during my absence?
One assignment and a quiz. Who are the speakers? Unit 2, Short Conversations, Drawing Conclusions, Who, What, and Where.
Okay, so Bapak Ibu, I can see from the Pear Deck that most of you answered correctly. Now, the answer is students. Okay, now let's continue. So that's a sample question from TOEFL PPTs, part A. Now listen to this one. Choose the correct answer. Those joining Pear Deck can start. Very good. Answers keep coming. Okay. The recording, you cannot join perfect.
Strategy 2. Sample problem. Excuse me, you're playing that music much too loud. I can't get to sleep.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize.
What will the woman probably do next?
All right. And again, most of you answered the questions correctly. So the correct answer is C, turn down the volume of her music. Let's continue to the next slide. If you join Karadak, you can start listening. Okay. If you cannot join Karadak, so these are the options. Let's listen. I'm going to stop sharing first. I think there's a problem here. Just continue if you have Karadak. Host, could you please again share the Karadak passcode? Okay, let me play the.
If you want to join the Perdec, you can read it in the chat. Yeah, why you have to join the Perdec? Because you can listen to the audio file there, and you also can answer the question from the slide. Thank you.
Okay, answers keep coming. Very good. Okay, please listen to the recording. Host, can you enable screen sharing again? Thank you.
Wait.
Strategy 3, sample problem.
Hi, Jack. Is this seat taken?
Oh, hi, Danielle. No, sit down. Looks like the whole dorm is here to have lunch today. Where does this conversation probably take place?
Host, it is still disabled. Okay, thank you. Very good. So yes, again, most of you answered correctly. We have problem with connection here, Bapak Ibu.
Wait a minute, Bapak Ibu. There is a connection problem. I have to let Bu Adari in.
Okay, yes. Sorry for that. I think I just got disconnected. I'm
Yeah.
going to turn off my video so that it will be better. I think it will be more stable. So for now, I hope it's okay if I just, turn off my video. And I'm going to again continue. Host, could you please enable sharing?
Yeah, wait a minute, man. Okay.
Yes, thank you. All right. So the answer in a dormitory, cafeteria, and next. This time, please write your response. If you're already at Terdekat, again, you can play the audio. If it's here, then I'm going to play the audio for you.
You have some time to look at questions 1 to 2. The first part. The following activities are in the IELTS listening section 1. Listen to the conversation and answer the questions. Questions 1 through 2. Choose the correct letter, A, B, or C.
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 2.
Good morning, First Estate Agency.
Morning. Is that First Estate Agency?
That's right, ma'am.
Now, listen
Stay
to the
here.
first part of the conversation and
Calling for
answer questions 1.
Renting a flat. My name's Melinda Johnson.
Yes, Ms. Johnson. What sort of flat?
Estate Agency.
Morning. Is that First Estate Agency?
That's right, ma'am. First Estate here. What can I do for you?
I'm calling for information about renting a flat. My name's Melinda Johnson.
Yes, Ms. Johnson. What sort of flat are you looking for?
A one-bedroom flat, and I want it to be fully furnished.
1-bedroom flat, fully furnished. All right. I think we do have lots of options there, but you need to know our areas. I mean, the areas that we handle are the city centre.
City Center, okay?
And the East District.
Great. I'm actually looking for a property in the East District.
Questions 3 through 10. Complete the notes below. Write no more than 3 words and or a number for each answer.
Now, you have some time to look at questions 3 to 10.
Okay, I'm going to show you now the answer. Again, most of you answered correctly. So for question 1, the answer is 1-bedroom flat. And for question 2, the answer is the East District. The East District. Sorry.
Now, listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 3 to 10.
Okay, what's your price range?
Well, I'm not sure. Do you have any ideas?
Certainly. It really starts from £400 per month.
£400.
Yes, to about £800. Well, the price depends on a number of different factors.
What sort of factors are they?
First of all, the flat's location, and then if it's furnished or not.
Well, like I said, I'd want a fully furnished flat.
Right, and a secure parking pushes up the price.
Well, I don't reckon I'll need it. Right, let's see. Okay, £650 a month is my limit.
Okay, Would you like to view some of the properties, ma'am?
That'd be great.
Let me go through our records first. Well, we've got 2 you might like.
Hang on, let me get my pen first. Yes?
Right. There's one on the Hill Road, which is £550 a month.
Okay, £550. Does that include all the bills?
Well, that one doesn't include any bills.
All right.
The second one is on the Gravelly Road. Let me spell that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So let's check out the answer. Answer 3, 400. So for question 3, 400. For question 4, 800. And for question 5 is furnished or is fully furnished. Now let's continue. After trying out the task, I think we need to know the number 1 rule when taking a proficiency test. If you have never ever taken a proficiency test, it's better for you to actually know the format of each proficiency test and also the task in the proficiency test. In the TOEFL paper-based task, I'm going to say this again. There are 3 parts in the listening section. Part A, short conversations, and usually the questions are very straightforward. What does the man mean? What does the woman mean? What will the man do next? What can be said about the speakers? Who are the speakers? Very straightforward. But then the clue is for you to be able to understand especially what the second speaker says. So knowing this, knowing the task is about short conversations about a man and a woman is a good start for you. And then in part B, in the paper base of TOEFL, you have a longer conversation again between a man and a woman. In part B, the topics are usually about social life and also academic life. Here again, it's very important for you to know that there will be 2 speakers. Then you need to know the context or what the speakers are talking about. And then in part C, in the paper-based TOEFL, is a short talk or mini talk. And here, the content is actually a part of a lecture or part of an academic seminar. Well, in an IELTS academic test, there are, I'm going to say that again, 4 listening sections. Section 1 and 2, focusing on the social life, shopping, hobbies, and something like that, or accommodation, like the one that you heard earlier. While sections of 3 and 4 are about academic content, lectures, seminars. Here in the IELTS listening section, it is very important for you also to know the tasks. Contrary from TOEFL, in IELTS task, you really need to know the different tasks and then get to know what the tasks look like, because there are so many tasks. So number 1 rule, know your task well. So do not ever take a paid proficiency task if you do not know your task well.
Ma'am, you are breaking up, ma'am.
I'm breaking up?
Yep.
What about now?
Good.
Now? Okay. Yeah. Yes, Bapak Ibu? Yes, I think the connection is really unstable here. I cannot move the slide. Can you see the slide? I'm going to stop sharing first and then probably share it again.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Still, yeah, okay.
Okay.
You can see it now.
Now, what types of questions usually show up in a listening proficiency test? These are the most common questions. If you take any listening proficiency test, you will definitely see or encounter these kinds of questions. Main questions, obviously, and specific information questions, and conclusion or inference questions. Now, how do you answer those questions? Well, the hint is to look beyond types of tasks because now we see things in general. First of all, you need to understand the context. Sorry, I forgot to move my slides on Pear Deck, so I'm also using two devices. Okay, so understand the context either from the question text and also from the recording. So what does it mean by context? Context is the background, environment, setting, framework, or surroundings of events or occurrences. We're going to discuss further later about context. And then number two, after you understand the context, you need to practice every time you listen to a listening text, to a recording. Always practice drawing conclusions related to the who, what, when, where, and even if possible, if you get used to doing this, the how and the why. Now, if you take a look at these questions, here, this one is taken from TOEFL PBT, the one that you just did. From the text, the clues are in the cinema, in a dormitory. So the clues are usually the option in TOEFL PBT, especially in part A. So looking at the options, you know that the context will be about a place. And then from the recording, after you read the options, you need to pay attention now to the recording. You have time, some seconds, before you actually listen to the recording. Now, when you listen to the recording, the speaker says something like, looks like the whole dorm is here to have lunch. The whole dorm. So that's the surrounding, that's the context, that's the setting. And then the speaker continues saying, here to have lunch, an activity. That's also an event, an activity. So this surrounding, this event, activity form a context. So knowing what the context is makes it really easy for you to actually answer the question. Now let's take a look at this one from IELTS. So again, you have time to read the text before the recording starts. Here, the setting from the question text, as you can see from number 1 and number 2, is place to live for number 1, and then for number 2, it's location. So you can actually decide on the context even from the question text. Not most of the time, but the text can actually help. And then when you start listening to the recording, have good morning first as state agency. As state agency, of course, from the name as state agency, you can set the context. It's about an agency that has something to do with houses, estate, because of the word estate. Now, that's about the main idea. So when it comes to main idea, pay attention again to the context. And then after you know the context, go ahead and then try to predict the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how. And then to answer specific information question, you need to look at the surrounding signal words from both question text and recording, because this will help you definitely guess the answers to the question. If you take a look at this, you have price range and then rent depends on. The clues from text, for numbers 3 and 4, you have a currency symbol which indicates numbers. For number 5, the clues are a list of factors that decide the rent price. What's also in IELTS, most of the time, you can actually decide on the speakers as well. Like this here, you know that from the context that there will be a speaker who is an agent and also a speaker who wants to rent a house or a place. You can definitely guess that from the context. Now, you can also decide on the speaker who gives the information, like this one, price range and rent depends on. Obviously, the speaker that you need to focus on to answer these questions, to fill out the problems with answer, is the agent, not the person who wants to rent. Because it talks about price range. So the person who wants to rent will probably not know the price range, the agent does, and the factors that become the decisive factor of the price will be informed by the agent, again, not the person who wants to rent. So here, from the question text, you can actually, you can have signal words, like for example, currency, and also speakers, the speakers. Now, what about from TOEFL PBT? Here, from the question text, you see editors, librarian, teachers, and students. Obviously, the signal words from the text are occupations. And then after you know, you can actually build, visualize a context that they're going to talk about jobs. And then the clues, the signal words or clues from the recording, after then you hear the recording, you will hear absence, assignment, and quiz. So these surrounding words from the recording tell you that the answer to the question is students. Now, the next thing that you need to do to answer the questions, such as main ideas, specific information, and inference question, is to familiarize yourself with different language functions. This is crucial as language function often signals the answer to a question. So you may question what language functions mean. I think you're more familiar with the terminology of expressions. So expressions are often used in functional language. In a functional language, you don't sometimes say literally what it means. So it's a very ideal if you start learning the most common and familiar expressions, such as sequencing, describing, likes and dislikes, including, of course, stating preferences, agreeing, disagreeing, apologizing, asking for permission, making an offer. asking for and giving assistance, giving instructions, directions, comparing, and many more. Some examples of language functions are shown here. Agreeing, like for example, I couldn't agree more. So in a context, if the expression is put, then it becomes a functional language, and I couldn't agree more means agree even though you have a negative there. So understanding this will be beneficial for you. It will help you a lot to understand what the conversation is about. So another example of agreeing expression, such as I share your view. It's not literally that you're looking at a scenery or a view. No, it means that you have the same idea. You agree on the same idea. And then expressions for disagreeing, for example, I beg to differ, or that's not the way I see it. It's not like you are actually looking at something and then you see different things. No, but in the context, it's like you see things, you have different ideas. You disagree on an idea. And expressions for likes, for example, I prefer staying at home. Apologizing, I'm sorry, or pardon me. I think apologizing functional expressions are very common, and sometimes people forget that it's functional language sometimes have different meaning, but because it's really common, apologizing functional language, we just know what it means. And then also another example, asking for assistance. For example, can you give me a hand? You don't actually give someone a hand. So knowing this functional language, again, Bapak Ibu, is very helpful, because all proficiency tests will test you on understanding this. A simple example is from the one that you just did. So here, I'm going to read out the exchanges. Excuse me, you are playing that music much too loud. I cannot get to sleep. And then the woman says, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. So there's a functional language there. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. The woman says that she didn't realize, so she will probably turn the volume down. And that is why the answer is C. Pay attention, and the last one, pay attention to the tone of the speakers. The tone helps you identify the speaker's mood and feelings, which are often asked in the proficiency test. This can be very useful when you are not familiar with or cannot determine the function in the text. You cannot determine the functional language in the text, or you're not familiar, you don't know. So tone does help. So I'm going to repeat again, Bapak Ibu. So there are three most common questions: main idea, specific information, and inference question. And then to answer these types of questions, please understand the context of the questions, the context from the question text and recording. And then practice, always practice drawing conclusions related to who, what, when, where, how, why, even though the test that you practice does not ask you a question about that, try to always practice drawing conclusion. It will help a lot. Because in other questions, probably this question, the when, for example, in the question that you read, ask about the who, but in other questions, probably question about when will be asked. So always practice drawing conclusion. And again, you can determine the context, the who, what, when, where, why, by reading the text and also from the recording. And to answer specific information questions, look at surrounding signal words, again, from both question text and recording. Next, familiarize yourself with different language functions. Get used to read these language functions, use these language functions even, that will help a lot. And finally, pay attention to the tone. Okay, some tips. Read the instructions carefully. Failing to understand the instructions may cause you to lose mark, especially in IELTS tests. In IELTS, the instructions specifically ask you to write a number or 3 words, for example. If you write more than 3 words, then you will lose marks. So be very careful. Read the instruction. That's why the #1 rule is always know your task well. Knowing your task well will help you know your task well. Knowing your task well, and then you're familiar with the format and the task, it's easier for you to understand the instructions because the instructions are repeated in each type of proficiency test. And then another tip, skim through the written text, problems and or options before the recording starts. You have some seconds, even in IELTS, you have like a minute or two to read the written text. So it gives you enough time to read the written text, to skim through the written text before the recording starts. And as I said earlier, again and again, ask yourself what is the context and the who, what, when, where, how, and even why. And practice this regularly until you are quite good at doing it. And final tip. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. If you are at terdekat, you already see this. Okay, another final tip. Read the problems and or question in order. So read in order. So if you have the text, do not jump from #1 to #3 or #4 and then jump again to #8. Please don't do that. Why? Because the questions, the answer to the questions are always in the same order as you hear them in the recording. For example, this one, the one taken from sample test of IELTS from LIA preparation book, actually, you will definitely hear the answer to the questions about the price range before the factors that be the decisive factors of the price. So price range will be heard first before the factors. So read the question in order. Okay, before we end, shall we have another try? I suggest you join terdekat because it's easier, the connection will be but it's better to use terdekat because sometimes here we need to rely on the connection because I use Zoom, so the connection can be very bad. So let's have another try. The following questions are in part A of the listening comprehension section in the TOEFL PBT. These questions again are taken from the LIA TOEFL preparation book. Let's start. Go ahead, Bapak Ibu. If you have already joined Terdekat, please listen and then answer the question.
Directions. Listen carefully to the short conversations.
Exercise. Directions. Listen carefully to the short conversations and questions. Then, choose the best answer to each question. You should be able to draw a conclusion about who the speakers are, what the second speaker probably intends to do, and where the speakers are. Number 1. I forgot to take notes during Professor Adrian's lecture.
Don't worry. Use mine. I don't need them at the moment.
Where does this conversation probably take place?
Okay. All right. I'm still waiting for responses. There are already 29, 30 people answered. Let's wait for another minute. Yes, the answer is in a classroom. Now let's move on to the next question. Go ahead, Bapak Ibu. Listen to the recording.
Number 2.
I'm sorry, sir, but would you mind fastening your seatbelt? We're about to land.
Thanks for reminding me. Who is the man?
Bapak Ibu, in TOEFL PBT short conversation, the answer is usually based on what the second speaker says. So who is the man? Because the man is the second speaker. And the answer is A, a passenger. Now, the final question before we start our Q&A session. Go ahead, play the recording.
Number 3.
Are you going to mop the floor now?
Right after I finish dusting the table. What will the man probably do next?
So the question is usually based on what the second speaker says. That's why the narrator said, what will the man do, probably do next? Now I'm going to show you the answer. B. Finish dusting the table. Okay, that's actually the end of my presentation. Thank you, Bapak Ibu. I'm going to stop sharing. If you have questions, I believe I'll try to answer all your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much Ibu Ada Ari for the explanation. Hari ini kita belajar fokus kepada listening, ya. Ada dua jenis tes yang tadi kita sampaikan, entah itu PBT ataupun IELTS, ya, TOEFL atau IELTS. Di sini kita perlu catat bahwa yang paling utama adalah kenali tes yang akan kita hadapi. Jadi kita harus tahu dulu TOEFL berbeda dengan IELTS, apa yang dibutuhkan TOEFL akan berbeda dengan yang dibutuhkan IELTS. Jika ada pertanyaan Bapak Ibu silahkan diketik di chatnya, nanti kami akan kumpulkan dan kita akan coba jawab satu persatu. Kita punya waktu hingga maksimum sampai jam 12. Ya, mungkin saya sedikit mengulas dari apa yang disampaikan Ibu Ada Ari. Yang utama adalah dari listening ada 3 jenis pertanyaan, yaitu pertanyaan tentang main idea atau gagasan utama, gambaran besarnya, atau juga specific information, hal-hal yang berhubungan dengan detail, dan juga inference, atau kita diminta untuk mengambil kesimpulan dari listening text yang kita dapat. Kemudian tips yang diberikan oleh Ibu Ade Ari adalah, pertama kita harus mengenal dulu konteksnya apa. Dari listening itu kita juga harus sering-sering berlatih, karena listening adalah sebuah skill, sama seperti main bola Bapak Ibu. Kadang kita jago lari, tapi kita nggak bisa nendang bolanya. Kadang kita bisa nendang bolanya, tapi larinya kita kalah dengan lawan. Ya, jadi memang skill itu harus terintegrasi, makanya seringlah berlatih untuk mengambil kesimpulan apapun yang Bapak Ibu dengar. Ini siapa yang bicara? Who? What? Konteksnya sedang apa? When? Kapan? Apakah itu lunchtime atau dinner atau sedang tes, where, di mana. Pembicaraan ini gunakanlah surrounding signal words-nya, kata-katanya. Misalnya, oh kalau ada kata-kata misalnya borrowing books, returning books, I do some research, mungkin oh tempatnya adalah library atau misalnya ruang kelas, karena kita tahu konteks itu sangat penting. Dan tes itu biasanya berhubungan dengan academic setting, jadi lingkungannya adalah lingkungan sekitar kampus. Kemudian juga jangan lupa dengan language functions-nya, apakah ini sequencing, describing, likes, dislikes, agree, disagree, dan lain sebagainya. Dan terakhir, yang kelima, dengarkan tone of the speakers, karena di situ biasanya menggambarkan, misalnya ditanya suasana hatinya dan lain sebagainya. Ya, silakan pertanyaannya diketik. Sebentar. Ada satu pertanyaan, baik Ibu Ade Ari, ada pertanyaan ini dari Dava Ami. What is the fastest way for the beginners to master part 1 or listening?
Okay, thank you for the questions, Mbak Dava. The fastest way for beginners. We always believe that there is nothing instant about a learning language. So probably that's the first thing that everybody needs to know. Yeah, there are many advertisements saying instant language, you can do this and then you can get higher score within this in a week or in 2 weeks, in a month. I guess in a proficiency test, that is not really the case. So in order for you, before you actually take a proficiency test, my suggestion will be, your proficiency level first. So before you pay the real proficiency test, such as TOEFL PPT with dollars, and then TOEFL IPT, IELTS, which is very expensive now, it's almost 4 million rupiah. It's very important for you to know your proficiency level by taking like a prediction test, prediction a test that can give your prediction score. Knowing your proficiency level then can determine whether you should actually take preparation course classes or not. We always suggest that those who take preparation course classes have basic English, have the foundation to actually understand what the language is about. Because in a proficiency test, it's a proficiency test. So they do not limit themselves to certain topics. They do not limit themselves to certain vocabulary or language function. So it's like a very broad language evaluation. So not having basic English, at least like around 351 to 400, that's actually already very basic. I don't suggest you take preparation courses. There is no such thing as getting instant high score in a month. So how then the question, going back to the questions, what's the fastest way? I believe that you need to go through all the process, go to like a general English class or a basic class, or the general English class will help you a lot, because with general English classes, you will learn the vocabulary, you will learn the grammar, you will learn the expressions, the functional language, and how these components, these language components, are used properly, appropriately, before you go to the not knowing world of proficiency test. So when making a proficiency test, we also do not, again, limit ourselves. We just take any language function. We can take any vocabulary that suits the need of the test, that suits the specification of the test. Mind you, even those who create the TOEFL, PBT test, or IELTS academic test, the creators themselves sometimes do not know whether their the test items that they made are selected by this institution that published the test. So it's very, very broad language testing or language evaluation. So shortcut, I'm sorry, there is no shortcut. You need to learn from the very beginning, from basic. Have a good foundation of English so that at least you can grasp the context. That's the easiest one actually, Bapak Ibu. Understanding context, understanding what the setting is, the framework is actually, I think, the simplest one before detail specific information and on also making conclusion or drawing conclusion. So that's it. Start from the beginning. Again, no instant way. Go to general English. So you do self-study on proficiency test, doing proficiency test exercises. If you do not have basic English, you will be frustrated. I think I hope that answers the question. Thank you, Pak Edwin.
Ya, baik Ibu Ade. So there is no instant way, ya, ma'am. Can we?
The test creators do not know whether that their test items will be selected or not.
Ya, berarti harus ekstensif ya, ma'am, belajarnya. Extensive listening begitu ya.
Right.
Oke, semoga bisa menjawab pertanyaannya Ibu. So there is no fastest way. The point is you have to start now, and then you keep on practicing. And because this is listening, habituation is very important juga ya, pembiasaan, karena telinga kita tidak terbiasa mendengar bahasa Inggris, jadi sering-sering mendengar bahasa Inggris.
And of course, as I said, start from the very beginning. Go to 10 classes, the general English ones, instead of going directly to the preparation courses. If you do not have the proper or the right proficiency level to take preparation courses, again, you will be frustrated. So making sure that you have good, at least some foundation in English will be very beneficial before you take the TOEFL test or IELTS test or any proficiency test or even take the courses.
Ya, baik. Jadi bertahap juga ya mem belajarnya. Kadang kita pengen cepat bisa, kita dengerin yang sudah sangat rumit conversation-nya misalnya. Ya, jadi kalau kita mengikuti satu kursus ada pola dari tahap 1, tahap 2, tahap 3, perasaan confident itu akan bertumbuh bersama dengan levelnya itu. Oke, kita akan lanjut ke pertanyaan kedua dari Husnul Khotimah. What should we do if we lost focus in the middle of listening test? For example, we get low signal in the middle of the test and the sound is breaking up for a moment. Ini untuk online test, ma'am. Silakan, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. In an online test, this is what we do as here at LIA Pajajaran. We are actually a test center, so we hold online tests as well, especially in this pandemic era, pandemic time. So Bapak Ibu, what we always remind our test takers before taking an online test is to make sure all the software and hardware work well. And making sure that connection works well. Making sure all the necessary software are there. It's very difficult for us, Bapak Ibu. It's beyond our control if you do not have the exact or the appropriate connection of softwares. So that's actually a way to make sure that you won't lose focus because of technical problems in an online test. Of course, not many people actually, because of the risk, I think, because of the risk of the online test, nowadays there is no other way. Online test is the only option in this time. But if we go back to the old normal, not the new normal, I believe that taking an on-site test is better than online test, knowing that the infrastructure in Indonesia is probably not good enough as well, especially in the regions in the eastern part or the middle part of Indonesia. Because we also have like participants from all over Indonesia currently, LIA Pajajaran, from the eastern part and also middle part of Indonesia, and oftentimes they cannot be connected to our classes, they cannot join our classes because of the internet problem. So if we go back to the old normal, it's better to take the on-site test such as TOEFL PBT if you are afraid to lose focus, or TOEFL PBT or IELTS. I think before pandemic, IELTS has already prepared these IELTS people, the institution itself has already prepared the online test, although they are not really that serious about it. I don't think so, because they still, they focus more on the on-site testing because they believe that this outside practice can really affect test takers. That's why they really prefer having an on-site test for IELTS. And that's why there are so many participants queuing just to take the test. But nowadays it cannot be done, but hopefully everything will go back to the old normal. So my suggestion, Bapak Ibu, so that you won't lose focus, make sure that you comply with the requirements of the online test. Take a look at your internet connection, your software and hardware. I think that's it. Thank you.
Ya, thank you. Berarti ini berhubungan dengan online test ya Bapak Ibu. Memang untuk fokus itu sendiri tanpa online test itu suatu tantangan. Kalau saya suka memberi saran, jangan merem, jangan tutup mata, karena konsentrasi itu sangat penting. Tapi untuk online test, terutama seperti Ibu Ade juga sampaikan, bahwa read the instructions carefully. Karena selain kita berhadapan dengan technical di testnya itu sendiri, pembiasaan bagian-bagiannya, terutama lagi karena kita didukung oleh infrastruktur, internet, gadget, software. Terlebih kita adalah negara kepulauan, Jadi kita sangat tergantung, di mana juga infrastruktur ini masih dalam proses pengembangan. Ya, baik, terima kasih. So, mungkin itu pertanyaannya bisa menjawab. It can answer the questions. Untuk mengenai technical stuff in online test, kita harus betul-betul persiapkan, kita baca instruksinya, persyaratannya apa. Kita siapkan itu pun kita tidak menjamin karena kita masih tergantung dengan jaringan internet. Baik, saya akan ke pertanyaan ketiga dari Ibu Mary Novita, MPD. Pertanyaannya adalah, the challenge for me is still answering for listening skill, especially for IELTS questions. What's the best way to tackle my problem in listening for IELTS? Yes, please, Ibu.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very interesting question. So, I myself, if I have to choose between taking TOEFL IBT, not TOEFL IBT, TOEFL paper-based test and IELTS, I will choose IELTS. Why? Because based on my experience and in my opinion, IELTS gives you more text clues compared to TOEFL. In TOEFL, you really focus, even in the preparation courses, in the preparation, test preparation classes, we give you strategies on how to, answer this question, that question, reading the text and so on, reading the recordings, listening to the recording. But because of the limitation in terms of question text, it's very difficult sometimes, especially if you do not have a wide range of vocabulary to even, set the context. But in IELTS, actually, Bapak Ibu, you have very much context in the question test itself. And what is really nice about IELTS is that you have time, really enough time to actually read the question text before the recording starts. And my suggestion will be, first, because the question text is, more in terms of quantity compared to TOEFL, make sure that you have time, practice reading, or you have time to read the text. If you're not used to doing that, then practice that. So every time you do a practice, an IELTS practice test, go ahead, practice to read as fast as possible this question text. That's number one. Number two, please again understand the task. Get used to the tasks that often appear in section 1. For example, like table, filling out form. So those are questions, tasks that often appear in section 1. In section 2, get used to labeling a diagram, map, a plan. In section 3, go ahead, section 3 usually simulate also section 4, answering multiple choice questions. Again, what I like about IELTS, the questions are there. The question text, even the problems are there. While in TOEFL PBT, you don't see the problems. You tried the task earlier. In PBT, you don't see the problems, but in IELTS, the problems is there. Well, Melinda wants, so you see that. Belinda wants. And then the rent depends on, so you see the problem. So first, of course, practice reading as fast as you can, the question text. And then second, get familiar with the task. So you know what tasks often appear in section 1, what tasks often appear in section 2, section 3, and section 4. And of course, above all that, using the text, build the context. That's it. Thank you.
Ya, oke, baik. Jadi untuk IELTS sebetulnya lebih Mudah ya Ibu Adari ya?
Not easier, it's just it gives more clues on the context.
Oke, karena ada clues-nya, ada petunjuknya ya. Sementara di TOEFL itu kita sepertinya ditutup matanya ya, tidak ada petunjuk apapun. Jadi skillnya adalah untuk memahami konteksnya, read the text, the question text, teks yang tertulisnya dibaca dan dipahami apa yang diminta informasinya.
Betul. And then don't forget, of course, all the answers will be in order, so read the text in order.
Baik, jadinya memang perlu latihan ya Ibu. Oke. So the challenge for listening skill you have to improve, banyak-banyak berlatih. Saya lanjut kepada pertanyaan dari Bapak Agus Purnomo. Pertanyaannya menarik, mungkin juga menjadi pertanyaan beberapa orang dari kita. I didn't quite catch about paying attention to the signal when answering the specific information questions. Can you please provide some examples of the signal in the test? Signal words, ma'am.
Signal words. Yes, Bapak, I think I'm going to share one more time the slide. Okay, I'm sorry, the connection again. Please be patient. Do you see the slide? This one?
Yes,
This
we
one?
can.
Oh, okay.
The IELTS.
If you take a look at this part, here, look at the box first. The box usually also gives you an idea on what to focus on, the signal word to focus on. So in the example, name of agent. So that is, signal words can be from the text, can also be from the recording. Now from the text, so the signal words or the clues from the text. Name of agent, then you know that you have to focus on a name, and not a number, not a place, not a time. So a name. And then if you look at the problems now, price range, stated there rand from for number 3, and then you have the currency that's for pound, right? Is it pound or pound, right? Not euro, pound. And then for to number 4, also a currency. So as you can see, because of the currency symbol, so the currency symbol is the signal words, you know that you have to fill it out with a number for number 3 and also a number for number 4. So in this case, it's probably not a signal word, but a signal letter, the currency. And then if you go on to the next question, rand depends on. Rand depends on are actually the signal words. You know that you need to know the deciding factors of the price of a place. So those are the signal words. And here, 2 factors have been listed. the location, and availability of secure parking. Again, actually, these two factors become your signal words. Now, these are the clues or signal words before you start the recording. When you start the recording, there will be some signal words as well. Here, for example, I forgot what the speaker said. Let me show you the tape script. There's another thing here. This is not actually about signal words, but again, all these ways to handle questions are very related to one another. If you take a look at this type of questions, price range, and then depends on. If you question yourself, even before the recording starts, who the speaker will be, who will give you the information, you know for sure that it's not the person who wants to rent, but the person, the agent will be the person who will give you the information about the price range and also the factors. So knowing that will help you also. So they are like the ways to handle the questions very much related to one another. So go back to that also, Pak. Go back to understand the context, understand the who, when, where, what, where, how, why, and also go to signal words. Signal words is here, the surrounding words that help you to guess what the answers are. I don't know whether that makes sense to you or not. Is it already clear or not? Yes. I think that's it. Doing probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's clear enough. About the signal words. Jadi apapun yang ada di teks tersebut yang bisa menjadi sinyal atau rambu-rambu atau petunjuk bagi kita untuk menjawab pertanyaan tersebut, ya, bisa dari kata-kata, bisa dari simbol, angka seperti tadi, atau apapun yang bisa membangun konteks tersebut. Jadi pemahaman tentang konteks bisa dibantu dengan signal words, ya. Baik, pertanyaan berikutnya. Wah, waktu tidak terasa sudah setengah jam kita berlalu. Antusiasme kita masih ada. Oh ya, Ibu Ade Ari, boleh saya sampaikan kepada Bapak Ibu semua, peserta webinar saat ini sangat beragam, baik dari kalangan keluarga besar dari Mahkamah Agung, para guru-guru bahasa Inggris, dosen-dosen, mahasiswa, adik-adik kita yang di SMA dan SMK, para pengajar, juga para karyawan yang ingin mengetahui tentang TOEFL atau tes proficiency test lainnya. Jadi terima kasih, alhamdulillah kita semua bisa berkumpul di sini. Saya akan lanjutkan ke pertanyaan berikutnya dari Reni Zuraida Nada. Pertanyaannya adalah, according to you, TOEIC or TOEFL which is suitable for SMK students? Silakan Ibu.
Thank you Ibu Reni or Mbak Reni for the question. Well, TOEIC is more appropriate than TOEFL for SMK students. Why? Because SMK students are expected to work after they graduate. When they work, and then if they work in English setting workplace, then obviously they need to have this language at the workplace, which is exactly what TOEIC test evaluates. TOEIC is for the test of English for national communication. So it's more targets to the language at the workplace. So obviously it's a TOEIC. Well, TOEFL is for those who are interested in furthering their studies and continuing their studies. So that's why questions are very academic or academic related questions. Not talking about working, about places, but about lectures, about taking notes, about extracurricular activities, something like that. So obviously TOEIC.
Baik, jadi jelas ya Bapak Ibu, TOEIC itu for international communication lebih cocok untuk yang mau bekerja atau berbisnis ya, sementara TOEFL lebih ke akademik yang ingin melanjutkan kuliah di luar negeri. Baik, ya.
And something also about TOEIC. For TOEIC, what differs TOEIC the most TOEFL? When it's TOEFL, you have like this certain course to be admitted to a university, let's say. For example, if you go to Malaysia, probably the requirement is not 500 probably is enough. But if you go to let's say state or any countries that accept the TOEFL score, you probably need at least 550, sometimes 600. It depends on the major that you apply. But for TOEIC, it's a different case. You may have a certain level of a language, a certain band. For example, you have like the score of 600. 600 is probably enough for an administration or administration people or clerk. Well, if you are a doctor, then you probably need around 850 or something for the TOEIC score. So that's why it's more appropriate for TOEIC. They do not have like the general limited general line for those. So only those who have scores beyond this will be accepted. No, but for TOEIC it depends. It really depends on the occupation. So for clerk, probably they don't need this high proficiency level of language, but for a doctor, for a lawyer, they obviously do. So again, TOEIC is much more appropriate.
Baik Ibu, terima kasih informasinya, penjelasannya. Jadi TOEIC itu lebih bertahap ya Bu, ada tergantung profesinya. Ya, seperti dulu kita pernah ya Bu, untuk itu ya, anak kapal ya Bu, anak buah kapal itu berbeda tingkatannya, jadi sesuai dengan kebutuhan bahasa Inggrisnya banyak atau sedikit. Ya, saya lanjutkan, ada komen dari Ibu Diana Wahyuni, practicing by watching movie is relaxing to me, no subtitle of course. Nah, mungkin ini salah satu sarannya untuk meningkatkan listening. Terima kasih Ibu Diana. Kemudian ada pertanyaan dari Dia Ayu Ardana Reswari. Can you please explain again about understanding context? I'm still confused. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Let me share the screen again. Okay. Can you see my slide? Not yet?
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, so context refers to the surrounding, the setting, the environment, the framework. So that's context. Now, let's take a look at the context of these question problems. So if you read the text again, you have this information: name of agent, price range, rent. Rent depends on, and then the location, whether it availability of secure parking. So by understanding the question text, in your mind, you will develop a surrounding of the conversation while this takes place. You will, picture a setting where this conversation will take place. Here, in this case, the surrounding, the setting will be about renting. So renting what? Renting a car? Obviously not, because you have estate in the example, name of agent, first estate agency, that gives you a kind of framework. And then you have the location, secure parking. So probably not renting a car, was probably renting a place to live. So that's your setting, that's your context. And then after that, obviously, after you understand the context, you need to know or to practice drawing conclusion about the who, what, when, where, how, and even why. Here in this case, because the questions ask you to fill out something about price range and the factor that determines the price of the rent, you can assume that the persons or the people involved in this conversation will be at least two. In most tests, two, Bapak Ibu, don't worry. Two. One is obviously the agent, because he's the one who has the info, and the other will be the one who seeks for a place to rent. So you can draw that conclusion, the who. And you can also draw a conclusion after knowing the setting, the context. You can also draw a conclusion about the what. Or before I go back to the who, from this question text, you can also draw a conclusion that the person who will give the information here to help you fill out the blanks will be the agent, not the person who wants to rent, because the agent knows the information. And then you can also draw a conclusion about the what. Here you can, conclude that they're probably going to talk. It can be either on the phone or directly face to face. And they're going to talk about something to do about a place, the price, and also probably the location or anything from your background knowledge. You, all of you, Bapak, Ibu, have background knowledge that can be activated when you do the test. So your background knowledge will help you determine the who, the what. And then you can ask even further. So doing this, practicing doing this will be very helpful. You can also, visualize the where. Where is it? If it's on the phone, then probably they are at their own places. If it's at an agent's office, then probably, there will be you visual, there will be like exchanges like, please take a seat, wait one moment please, something like that. So doing that, visualizing things will help a lot. So understand the context means pay attention to all this, to all the information from the question text even before you start recording, and then you will see the setting, the framework, or the environment. And then when you start recording, the same thing happens. Build the context, pay attention to the surrounding. Even sometimes background noise can help, and the setting, the event, or the occurrences. And then after that, go ahead, directly practice, draw a conclusion about who, what, when, where, how, why. I think that's it.
Ya, sangat komprehensif sekali penjelasannya. Saya jadi ingat, Ibu. Jadi, yang Ibu Ade ditekankan adalah konteks berhubungan dengan kerangka berpikir. Kerangka berpikir memberikan kita batasan dan ruang lingkup, di mana kita jadi bisa membayangkan siapakah yang berbicara, sedang di mana, apa yang sedang dikerjakan, dan waktunya kapan. Dan ini akan dihubungkan dengan background knowledge kita yang akan membantu kita untuk menjawab. Saya teringat tadi yang di TOEFL yang ini, mem, passenger itu, mem. Ketika ada, please fasten your seat belt. Ketika ada satu kalimat itu, background knowledge kita akan fasten your seat belt. Wah, itu pasti hubungannya kapal, flight. Nah, kita langsung bisa nebak karena pilihannya adalah who. Nah, kalau nggak pilot, steward atau stewardess-nya, atau passenger. Jadi mungkin seperti itu ya, Bu.
Right. Bapak Ibu, we are not sponsored by Budanggaran. It's just that behind Pak Edwin there is a box of
oh iya.
box.
Sorry, it's office aka warehouse. Yeah, I have to cover this. So we are not endorsed by any other proficiency test ya, Mem ya. Kita tidak di-endorse dari mana-mana, jadi kita memang sharing saja ilmu tes kemampuan bahasa Inggris yang ada di dunia secara internasional maupun secara nasional, tapi kita tidak di-endorse oleh siapapun juga. Baik, apakah bisa kita lanjut ke pertanyaan lainnya? Apakah ada lagi pertanyaan yang lain, Bapak Ibu? Kita masih punya waktu, mungkin satu termin lagi, 3 pertanyaan diperbolehkan. Oh ya, sebelumnya kita sampaikan hari ini adalah satu rangkaian webinar yang akan membahas listening, structure, dan reading. Hari ini, di Sabtu ini, kita membahas bagian pertama listening. Minggu depan, di jam yang sama, kita akan membahas structure. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang hadir pada hari ini, kita akan memberikan promo linknya melalui email dan WA yang Bapak Ibu sudah berikan. Sebelum kita akan promo juga di Instagram kami, di jejaring kolega-kolega kami, para dosen, para guru-guru bahasa Inggris. Jadi kami persilakan barang siapa yang mau ikut untuk minggu depan dan 2 minggu ke depan lagi, kami sangat welcome. Kehadiran Bapak Ibu kami tunggu, dan setiap sesi ini kami akan memberikan sebuah certificate of participation bahwa Bapak Ibu telah hadir di sesi-sesi kami, dan kami akan kirim nanti melalui email yang Bapak Ibu berikan. Jadi mohon namanya memang menggunakan nama lengkap supaya bisa kita tulis di sertifikatnya dengan baik dan benar. Kita tunggu. Apakah ada pertanyaan lagi? Sepertinya semua sudah ini ya, menyerap apa yang kita pelajari hari ini. Dari jam 10 sampai sekarang tak terasa hampir menuju jam 12 siang. Mungkin Bapak Ibu juga ada kegiatan yang lain, menyelesaikan weekend-nya, berkumpul bersama teman-teman atau keluarga. Terakhir mungkin dari saya, sebelumnya Bu Ade Ari, bagaimana Ibu?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's thank you for the participation, Bapak Ibu. You've been active, and I could see from the terdekat activities as well that you are very enthusiastic. Thank you again.
Ya, jadi dari sekelumit tentang listening hari ini, yang bisa saya sampaikan mungkin kesimpulan kecil sebagai bahan perenungan, mulailah berlatih dan ikutilah kelas-kelas yang memang sudah memiliki program yang terstruktur, karena belajar bahasa Inggris itu perlu juga pembimbing. Kemudian kita harus memiliki komitmen atas waktu dan latihan. Terkadang ketika kita sudah memiliki peran-peran lain sebagai profesi kita sekarang, waktu adalah tantangan terbesar. Tapi saya ingat ketika zaman SMA dulu, kawan-kawan saya, pertama mereka pilih dulu apa yang mereka cintai. Yang senang basket, yang senang bola. Setiap sekolah mereka menyisihkan waktu, mereka tidak berpikir tentang pertandingan, tidak berpikir tentang skor yang harus mereka buat. Mereka hanya berlatih dribble, shooting di ring dari pulang sekolah sampai sore, dan itu dilakukan setiap hari dengan senang hati. Nah, konsistensi itulah yang mungkin akan menjadi buah ketika Bapak Ibu siap mengikuti tes, Bapak akan merasakan hasilnya, Bapak Ibu akan merasakan hasilnya. Sekian dari saya, Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih banyak Ibu Ade Ari. Sampai ketemu minggu depan di jam dan channel yang sama bersama kami, LIA Pajajaran. Terima kasih. Untuk sebelumnya kita mau sesi foto dulu ya, Bapak Ibu, boleh dinyalakan videonya. Nanti di sini ada fasilitator kita, nih yang di belakang layar Pak Jeffrey akan memotret kita dan menjadi ini kenang-kenangan kebersamaan kita nih dari seluruh Indonesia. Silakan. Pak Jeffrey, silakan diaba-aba ya. Boleh dinyalakan aja Pak, itunya Pak. You can turn on your mic so everybody can listen to your voice.
Yeah, just a minute. Ada 3 screen, jadi saya akan satu-satu. Ini screen pertama dulu ya. Siap-siap.
Ibu Elisa, Ibu Ajeng, boleh dinyalakan?
Ya, 1, 2, 3. Ya, ini screen pertama. Sebentar. Sekarang kita ke screen kedua. Bentar ya. Masih banyak yang belum menyalakan screen. Kalau memang ingin wajahnya tampil, silahkan dinyalakan.
Nyalakan. Boleh mengacukan jempol.
Ya, ini screen kedua. Sebentar.
Masih nyala Pak, bentar Pak.
Oke, sebentar. Diulang ya, diulang. Ya, oke. 1, 2, 3. Sebentar. Ya, sekarang screen ketiga. Sekali lagi 1, 2, 3. Ya, semoga semua dapat ya.
Amin.
Oke.
Ya, terima kasih banyak semuanya. Salam sehat selalu. Selamat berakhir pekan. See you next week. Goodbye everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you.
Next time.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.